An old steam pond launch in poor condition, part 13. With the deck veneer now firmly stuck to the hull and the inside painted black, I turned my attention to making a radio controllable rudder assembly. After making a special servo arm, I fit the rudder in place with plenty of grease. Then I fit the polished propeller in the propeller shaft using an O-ring in the gland. In the later part of the video, I finished making the ceramic gas burner. The first job I need to do is make the rudder radio controllable because it isn't at the moment. If you've been watching the rest of the series, you'll know what this is. It's a special fitting that I made to take the top part of the rudder. And what I'm currently doing, using a very sharp scalpel, this is a really sharp knife, and if you're using one of these, you must wear eye protection. Because if you put a lot of pressure on the blade will break and it flies off at a great speed and you never know where it's going to go. And the last thing that you really need is a scalpel blade stuck in your eyeball. They are not designed for chipping away old wood veneer and old glue from a model steamboat. The next job to look at is making and fitting an actuating arm to the rudder so that it can be radio controlled. I need to make an arm along the lines of this one. This is fitted to a slide valve regulator. Mine's going to be slightly different though. I'm starting off with a piece of phosphor bronze, because this part is going to be drilled and threaded to take a grub screw in order to clamp it to the rudder shaft inside the boat. This clip shows me cleaning up the brass arm that I've just made, and this will be silver soldered to the phosphor bronze bush that I showed in the previous clip. You may notice that I've drilled plenty of holes in this piece of brass, and that is because I need it to be very adjustable. It needs to be accurately adjusted to suit the travel of the servos, because I'm not using a computer set, so the only way I have to limit or increase servo travel is to use different holes in the fittings. So this is the arm before silver soldering, and this is the arm after silver soldering. And once again I'm cleaning it up on the piece of wet dry sandpaper with a little oil, and then I drilled a 1/8 of an inch hole in the bush, threaded it 4BA to take a 4BA grub screw. And here I'm showing a test fit of the grub screw to the rudder shaft, and everything seems to be okay. The next job that I'm about to do looks quite violent, but it really isn't. When I made the original rudder tube fitting, I made it far too long, so I've cut it down and I used a knurling tool to roughen up the part that's inside the hull. That's why it needed tapping into place. Now I'm doing a test fit of the rudder in the rudder tube. And the rudder shaft seems to be a nice sliding fit in the brass part at the top. The reason for using a knurling tool on the brass part is to roughen the surface to give it a better key for the adhesive. I'm going to fix this in position with some epoxy resin, then it's not going to move at all. But there's sufficient flexibility in the rudder shaft to allow it to be fitted without any problems. It's time to look at the propeller shaft. And the first thing to do is apply some grease, followed by a stainless steel thrust washer. A thrust washer is quite important to stop the propeller rubbing against the gland nut. Did I mention there's a gland on this prop shaft? Yes, there is. A stuffing gland stops water running up the shaft. And I've put an O-ring in here. And once the gland nut is tightened up, I don't think much water is going to get past this silicone O-ring. Apart from the grease, I use some of my steam oil and rapeseed oil mixture, which is a really good lubricant, very low friction lubricant. Just a quick note on tightening gland nuts, and it's the same with gland nuts on a steam engine, whether they be on the steam chest or on the main cylinder. What you normally do is tighten the gland nut until you can feel some resistance, and then if you rotate the shaft, or on a steam engine, move the rod in and out. If you feel resistance, this is not good. Back off the gland nut a tiny bit, and you'll feel when it's right. Over-tightening gland nuts is wrong for many different reasons. Mainly it's a complete waste because you're generating friction, and also you can badly score the metal parts. You wouldn't think so, but I've seen some piston rods very badly scored just by having the gland nuts over-tightened. I neglected to mention that when I fitted the rudder shaft to the rudder tube, I did actually pass it through the arm that I made to connect to the servo. I didn't the first time, and I thought, so I took it out again, but the second time I did remember to thread it through the bush and tighten up the grub screw. The general feel of the rudder is good. It's not very slack, it doesn't rattle about, it's nice and smooth. And when I fit the original square fitting to the top of the shaft, nothing tightens up, so that's a good thing. Anyway, for the moment I'm removing that top fitting and I'm removing the brass fitting because I need to epoxy this in place. It can't just be a rattle fit. So taking great care not to get epoxy resin on the wooden part of the boat, other than under the piece of brass, I put it all together. I then put on an O-ring and tighten the fitting. And what this serves to do is put a bit of spring tension to make sure that the brass part is pressed firmly down into the recess where the epoxy resin is. When I look at the layout of this boat, it really is tricky to do some of the radio control work. I think I may use a closed loop system like I would use on a model aircraft. But for the moment, the rudder's very free moving, and when I put a little bit of pressure on the arm, it moves very easily. So that's a good thing. This morning, something good arrived in the post. It's the piece of ceramic to finish the ceramic burner. And it's only just big enough. I really did think it was going to be slightly bigger, because the last piece of ceramic that I got from Mike Abbott at Max Steam was bigger than this. The first thing to do is to put the original two halves of the pieces of ceramic that I had left on top of this new piece and draw around them. And as you can see, I'm really struggling to get the diameter from this piece of ceramic, so it's a little bit smaller. But it's worked out well because I was never pleased with the way the edge of the ceramic looked, so I'm going to put a brass band round it. Here's the ceramic, and it's just a little bit too small, but it won't be soon when I put this round it. This is a piece of brass that I rolled into a circle with some small bending rollers that I have. Then I silver soldered the joint. And now I have a brass ring that I'm currently cleaning up on some 400 wet dry sandpaper. This piece of ceramic is now quite a good fit in the brass ring, but I don't really want to risk pressing the ceramic into the brass ring because I'm sure it will break. I'm just using some sandpaper around the edge to reduce the diameter. So now this piece of ceramic is a nice easy fit in the brass ring. And now it's time to press the brass ring into the burner head. This is quite a good fit. I measured the brass very carefully before I cut it. As you can see, this piece of ceramic is not a perfect fit in the ring, but it's near enough for jazz. In this clip I'm lighting the burner. I've connected the burner of course to a gas supply. So what I'm going to do now is just dim the light slightly so you can see the warm glow coming from the ceramic burner. A warm glow is possibly not the best way to describe it. This is a very, very hot flame. I'm feeding the burner currently from a gas tank that's nearly empty. So I would think that what's left in there is mainly butane at a low pressure. But nevertheless, it's a success. This is a very good burner. I can detect a slight blue flame around the edge of the burner, but this will disappear when I seal everything with some fire cement. I'm just testing the heat by cremating my craft knife, and it takes no time at all before the blade glows red. And once again, I'm not detecting any carbon monoxide in the workshop, because I don't feel ill, I'm not going dizzy, and I haven't died. And I know I am being flippant about carbon monoxide, it's very nasty stuff. So by way of a quick health and safety warning, it's a good idea to get a carbon monoxide detector in your workshop if you're messing about with gas burners. And now it's painting time. I'm painting the body of the burner using exactly the same paint that I painted the inside of the hull with. This is made by Hammerite and it's called Bike Pot Black. It says on the tin that this paint is heat resistant, so it should be fine for this burner body that's not going to get that hot anyway. For the painting enthusiasts, on this episode only, this is called unpainting. And it's ideal after you've painted something if you want to change the colour. If you decide that black is not for you, you just unpaint it like this. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. and by doing that you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists you can actually watch the videos back to back.